Hello, my name is Zoe and I am an artist who has a problem of collecting watercolour. It's a problem, but the one thing that I do, as well as collect watercolour, is collect watercolour brushes, or just brushes in general. It doesn't matter what kind of brush they are, like, I will collect them. But the thing is, when I collect brushes or buy new sets or do anything, the one type of brush that I always avoid is the flat brush. Now I thought it would be a really interesting video to see if I could do a painting solely using my flat brushes. So before we get started, let's actually see how many flat brushes I actually own. So here are all of my flat brushes. I would say that this part of the collection is about a third of the collection, and considering I don't use flat brushes all that much, it really goes to show that I need to use my flat brushes more. There are a couple of brands of brushes here, so we have some unidentified ones. They're probably from Lidl. I know that this one is a Farrell and Gold one, so relatively cheap brushes all around. We have some Dale Rowney Aquafine brushes, a Sea White brush, some Royal Taklon brushes, which their branding has worn away over time. I don't know why, because I've hardly ever used these. We also have some Boldmere brushes. I think this is supposed to be like an imitation brush. This one like imitates a certain natural fibre of hair. This is going to be an interesting brush to use, as well as this one as well, which I put in there just so I can have some sanity with this finer edge. I just find it really funny how I've been collecting brushes for so long that Boldmere have changed their branding. And of course we had these two, but I'm not going to be using them because they're not meant for watercolour. And I am so sad because my favourite type of brushes are round brushes, as well as these mop brushes as well. Oh, I wish I could use you, but I can't. That is the challenge I have set myself. Let's get to it. So I started off with thumbnail sketching. Now I knew I wanted to challenge myself, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted, so thumbnail sketching is always great to get the creative juices flowing. So this picture is actually inspired by one of the stories in my character universe. This character universe is very, very big. There's lots of different characters with their own stories, and it all links together, and it's just so much fun to do illustrations for. Now this one is of my fire princess Pele. Now my fire royal family, they have this power where their hair actually does really funky things. And Pele's hair actually turns into lava when her emotions flare up. So I wanted a really interesting piece both visually and narratively. So to do this, I did sketching in my sketchbook as you saw before, and then I brought it into Clip Studio Paint and messed around with the composition, and as well as testing out the waters of where the colours would go. I work very heavily with colour and narrative, so I definitely played to those strengths in this picture. I also really like to do this with lighting. I really love huge contrast in my work and really creating that deep sense of atmosphere. Now, to complement Pele's lava hair, I decided to do it flowing into a body of water that stretches out into the horizon, and also it's dark at night, so that way you could really get a sense of depth in the piece. And also because blue is a complementary colour of orange, it really did lend to complementary colours. It was also complementary with the purple nature of the background and the yellow in the lava. Using complementary colours really helps the image just stand out from the crowd and actually have some harmony to it. Starting off the painting process, it was actually going really, really well, and I was really enjoying using flat brushes. It was like this change that I never thought I needed. But that was while I was mapping out all the colours and where they should be, and just getting an idea of how I wanted to do the piece traditionally, because painting digitally and traditionally are two completely different beasts. With traditional painting, there is no undo button, so I had to work with what I've got, and oh god, it became a lot very quickly. Although fun and really good in the beginning, the flat brushes started to hinder me the more I got into the paintings. As expected, the brush that was really good and really helped me out was the angled brush that I chose to include in my flat brush range. Some might call it cheating, but hey, it has a flat edge. I will use it. I think the brush that was the most helpful, especially when the layers became more delicate and trying not to scrub away at the paint I'd already put down, was the natural hair imitation brush. So this video originally was a contest entry for Jazz's Win My Channel competition. And of course I didn't win because I'm uploading it to this channel now. I also want to apologise for the lack of uploads or the lack of anything on my channel over the last couple of weeks, and that is because January has been pretty crazy for me. Very busy. It's like my life decided to hit the ground running as soon as 2020 started. As I record this part of the commentary, you can probably hear how croaky my voice is because I am on the back end of a cold right now. I used my favourite watercolours, my White Nights. I love the fact that they're full pans and they can actually fit bigger brushes in the pans. Usually I use the Daler & Rowney hot press watercolour paper, but this time I decided to use a cold pressed watercolour paper. This just has more texture and I just feel like it added an extra dimension. The texture is definitely emphasised with the watercolours, and it also is emphasised with the way that the brush lays down the watercolours, because sometimes the bristles of the brush could be a bit drier and you get more of a dry brushing technique. Maybe this is just my experience, but flat brushes don't seem to hold as much water as round brushes, which can become an issue, especially if you want to do huge areas. Obviously, the bigger the brush, the more water it can hold. So I think it's more of a case of changing the size of brush. I did end up taking out some of the layering process during this video because it was taking a very long time. Building up the layers of that bold of a colour takes a long time, and it's also a very tedious process, especially when the brushes start to chip away at the layers that you've already done. So the next step kind of expands upon the painting that I have done. I usually do this with all of my watercolour paintings, so I just thought that this one would be no exception. So I used my Polychromos pencil crayons by Faber-Castell to add some definition. I also used a fine liner for the character so that way she would stand out from all the pencil crayon being put down. And the main thing that I used with Pele's lava hair is I outlined it in white. I did this using a Uni Posca pen in the finest tip that they have. That bold white line that the Posca pen gave actually just helped the hair pop against the rest of all the colours and just really stand out. The Posca pen wasn't the only paint pen I ended up using. In the end, I actually remembered that I had a Derwent yellow paint pen. So I kind of hinted at some yellow in the white lines, so that way it would blend in a lot more with the colour of Pele's hair, or lava. The white lines also give me the impression of being white hot, which is exactly what I wanted to go for since it's lava. So this is the final piece of artwork. I really love how it turned out. Oh my god, I feel like in terms of the flat brushes, they really did shine more so in the background than with the character. I feel like they work better for mapping out colours rather than details. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, you can like and subscribe if you haven't already with those post notifications on for post notifications for every time I upload or live stream. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!